Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're taking a look at the brand new mythical Pokemon in the world of Pokemon Go, Marshadow, but it's been powered up with Rare Candy XL all the way to level 50 for the Master League. These battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, Pooj, so many thanks for the battle submission. Marshadow is going to be a ghost and fighting type Pokemon with the moveset of Counter, Ice Punch, and Close Combat. It was just released this past week at the in-person Go Fest, but it will have its global release next month during the Global Go Fest. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out level 50 Marshadow hunting down Dialga in the Open Master League. Great lead in the first match, Dialga Origin versus Giratina. Opponent safe switches into Dialga and they're getting instantly met with Marshadow. Marshadow able to outpace Dialga, make it to the close combat. This will KO if they let it through and the opponent will commit the shield. Due to the close combat being shielded, this does mean that Marshadow is now going to have to deal with Dragon Breaths at -2 defense. But look at this, Marshadow is going to get a full farm down, exiting with energy that it can use to threaten whatever the opponent sends in. They send in the Giratina. Giratina will be chipped with an Ice Punch. Ice Punch not going to do a ton of damage, but now Giratina is right back where it started, going up against the Dialga. And Dialga is just shredding through the HP of the Giratina. Giratina fires out the Shadow Ball. They'll look to switch. In the back is Zacian, and this game is just over for the opponent. Ironhead will be no-shielded, but in comes Necrozma, and this is Dawn Wings Necrozma. These Snarls are doing a massive amount of damage. We are going to see a shield as Zacian goes for the play rough. Opponent realizes there is no longer a win con, and they will resign the match. We've got a mirror Dialga Origin versus Dialga Origin. He's going to save switch into the Dawn Wings Necrozma. Dawn Wings Necrozma has an insane amount of neutral play across the meta as long as it can avoid dark types. If it runs into something like a Yveltal, it's going to have a truly terrible day as its energy is completely walled. Massive overfarm by the opponent. They're going to fire off the Iron Head to grab the shield. We will see the shield used, and now going for the Moongeist Beam. Opponent switches into a Palkia. Moongeist does massive damage to that Palkia. My goodness, Palkia is able to get that farm down. Dialga tries for the Dragon Breath snipe, but unfortunately the fast move gets denied on entry. Palkia, however, only gets the Aqua Tail, so that's not too bad. The opponent is going to send in the Dialga. In comes Marshadow. These counters are shredding through the Dialga. Marshadow is going to use the shield as Dialga will bait with the Iron Head. Dialga is going to get fully farmed down. What does the opponent have in the back? It's going to be Kyogre. And now Kyogre is going to have to deal with double close combats from the Marshadow. Marshadow going for close combat number 1. We're going to see the shield by Kyogre going for close combat number 2. No shields remaining for the opponent. Close combat, big damage to Kyogre. Kyogre is going to get the farm down, but in comes Dialga. Dialga can't quite get the farm down before Kyogre makes the last second charge attack, but this is only going to be the Surf. Surf not going to cut it. Dialga able to take the win. Picking up a great lead in the next match, Dialga Origin versus Mewtwo. This is a very good matchup as the Dialga, and even better because you're keeping the Marshadow away from that Mewtwo. And a Mewtwo would absolutely destroy Marshadow. They build up to the Shadow Ball, they bait with a Side Strike, in comes Lugia. Dialga gonna stay in here and go for the Draco Meteor. Unfortunately, looks like this trainer was able to get the Hundo Dialga Origin, but was not able to get the move, and there's still not a way to TM the move, which in my view is a pretty disappointing decision. In comes Dawn Wings. Dawn Wings is going to shield once, farm all the way down. The opponent baits there. That's a poor bait because they're not going to make a second Sky Attack, so realistically they should have just full sent. But a one shield farm down now means that even though Dawn Wings is at a shield deficit, it can very easily get those shields back from the Mewtwo. Dark Pulse gets the first shield, already at Dark Pulse number 2. The Mewtwo going from 2 shields to 0 in the blink of an eye. The opponent will need to fire off a Shadow Ball to pick up the KO. A Side Strike bait will not cut it. We're going to see calling of the bait. It's the Shadow Ball, but you can just send back in the Dialga and then trust in Marshadow with a shield. In comes Dialga in the back. Opponent has their own Dialga, and in comes Marshadow. And Marshadow is just cooking. It looks like the opponent stopped tapping there. They're going to concede the match as the close combat connects, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, Dialga versus Landorus is not a good lead. Going to need to switch out and send in Dawn Wings. Dawn Wings will immediately be debuffed with the Sandsear Storm. Even at -1, however, we're going to see Moongeist Beam do a truly massive amount of damage. But the very scary thing about Dawn Wings is the bait game. We do see the bait, and it actually ends up being caught onto a Dialga Origin. Is Moongeist even a -1 just does so much damage that it is very, very threatening. So, as the Dawn Wings, it honestly feels like a bit of a safe bait to bait with the Dark Pulse, especially in like one shield scenarios. This Dialga Origin for the opponent has so much energy. Gonna send in the Marshadow. Marshadow would love to potentially go for a one-shield farm down here, or maybe try and call the bait. We see the shield. It's the Iron Head. Can Marshadow get the farm down? Yes, it can. That's a big farm down for Marshadow. Dialga out of the way. In comes Landorus. And Landorus is now going to have to deal with Ice Punches. Double super effective damage. They will commit the shield. Landorus going for the Sandsear Storm. This will not be enough to knock out the Marshadow. Marshadow able to withstand that damage. Marshadow going to be able to make it to the Ice Punch. Waits the turn, predicting the catch. And in the back, the opponent has Mewtwo. Mewtwo firing off a charge attack. We see the no shield by the Dialga Origin. Dialga able to withstand that side strike, no problem, as the opponent will fire off another move. Again, the no shield by the Dialga. Side strike just not going to cut it in this matchup, and Dialga can farm it into Iron Head range, which is very nice, because now Dialga is going to be able to make a move versus the Landorus, and there's still the Ice Punch banked. So for the opponent, they're just in a completely lost position, and here we're going to see a little bit of bad manners going for the Draco Meteor. Iron Head would have KO'd, but sometimes you just gotta send a message. Draco Meteor is going to be able to take that win. A core breaker lead awaits in the next match, Dialga Origin versus Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh is a pretty big problem on the lead for this team, as Ho-Oh very convincingly beats Dialga, and it also does very well in a Marshadow. Marshadow very reliant on the fighting type damage to do any meaningful damage. We're going to see a shield of the Sacred Fire building up past the Draco Meteor and baiting with the Iron Head. Iron Head gets no shielded, opponent calls the bait, and that is extremely unfortunate. Going for another Iron Head. I think this doesn't KO either. The Ho-Oh is barely able to hang on, winning switch and shield advantage, and this game, basically from the start, already feels basically unwinnable. In comes Dawn Wings to get energy. Opponent sends out Zygarde, and Zygarde has access to Crunch. We're going to see a catch of the Crunch onto Marshadow, but things are still looking very dire. And we see a defense drop as well. In comes Dialga as the final Pokemon. Building up past the close combat, gonna bait with the Ice Punch, not wanting to debuff defense just yet. We're gonna see the shield from Dialga. Dialga looking for the farm down, and just cannot quite get it. The Ice Punch is reached by Marshadow. Ice Punch just does not KO, and that is going to mean game over, as the opponent can just go straight for the Roar of Time here to guarantee the shield. Oh, it looks like their Dialga actually doesn't have Roar of Time either, but then you can just send in the Zygarde. Unfortunately, we do see the Dawn Wings lag by one turn there. The opponent gets a sneak that they shouldn't have gotten, but it's not game impacting because Dawn Wings would need 3 moves, and even without the sneak it shouldn't have gotten, it just can't get to 3 moves here. So we are going to see Zygarde make it to the Crunch. This is double super effective damage. That's going to be good night to the Dawn Wings, and the bait call by the opponent to start the game just put them in a completely unlosable position. Terrific lead in the next match, Dialga Origin versus Palkia Origin. Palkia with the pacing advantage. We're going to see a switch out to Solgaleo, and Solgaleo is going to be answered with Dawn Wings. I like the decision to not bring in Marshadow, because Marshadow, of course, having that fighting subtyping, would be taking super effective damage from the Psychic Fangs, whereas by sending in Dawn Wings, you're able to consistently hit for super effective damage. The Dark Pulse is going to be shielded. Opponent farming up a lot of energy. Dawn Wings has a choice to make. Dawn Wings commits the shield. It's the Iron Head. The opponent didn't go for the Psychic Fangs, so that proves to be a very wise shield. The Psychic Fangs would not have KO'd, but an Iron Head definitely would have. Dark Pulse picks up the KO. Opponent is going to be able to send in the Palkia. Palkia, oh my! We're going to see a switch out by the opponent, catching the Iron Head onto Landorus, but they're forced to commit the shield, because even an Iron Head would do quite a lot of damage. And now Landorus will fire off the Sandsear Storm, the no shield by the Dialga. Sandsear picks up the KO. In comes Marshadow. Marshadow gonna try and close out this game. Marshadow, no shield in the Sandsear. A very precise overfarm will do wonders, and we're going to see Marshadow overfarming by 4 counters because it's going to be 5 mud shots to the Sandsear. That's a beautiful overfarm. Ice Punch picks up the KO. In comes the Palkia. I liked the aggressive switch out to deny farm because Palkia energy can be very scary earlier in the match, and that's going to pay off as Palkia only gets to 1 move. Marshadow still has a shield, takes the win as the Ice Punch knocks out Palkia. Mirror leads once again as Dialga Origins face off. The safe switch into Dawn Wings Necrozma answered not by a hard counter, but instead by a Landorus. Neutral type matchup, Dawn Wings can generate an advantage here. Dawn Wings tanks the Sandsear Storm, and we're going to see the bait. This bait game is so nightmarish for the opponent because Moongeist hits so hard, and we do see the shield. And now the opponent is in a position where they're going to lose switch advantage, or they're going to lose both their shields. because Dawnwings can shield. The Shadow Claws have already done enough where this Lando's basically at half HP. You can go for the Moongeist Beam, and the opponent is forced to burn the final shield. They could have overfarmed more there, but they are just going to fire off energy, and this potentially sets up a one shield farm down for the Dialga. And Dialga up energy is just absolutely devastating. Dialga is going to be shielding up the sands here, as that would do a massive amount of damage. And now we are going to see the full farm down. Dialga has energy, but its energy is debuffed. In the back, it's Primarina, the switch to Marshadow to clear the debuff. But Marshadow getting shredded by Charms. Marshadow going for the close combat. At the last second, the switch by the opponent into Dialga. Not familiar with the moveset, but they're going to learn today. Oh no, the close combat plus 2 counters basically pick up the one-hit KO. Primarina has a lot of energy, however. If Primarina is running Moonblast, then I think this is going to be a loss. But if they're running Hydro Pump plus the Disarming Voice will not be enough to knock out here. And they are running the Disarming Voice. It does not KO. Iron Head number 2 is going to knock out the Primarina. Things got a bit scary there in the middle, but nevertheless able to get the win. We've got more Dialgas in the next match, but this time the opponent is running the OG. The safe switch to Necrozma answered with Giratina, and look at the Shadow Claws. Oh my goodness. These are double super effective Shadow Claws from Giratina onto Dawnwings. Dawnwings farming up. Opponent can just fire off the Ominous Wind here. Ominous Wind is absolutely KOing. They will go for the Ominous Wind. No boost for the opponent, but able to make it to a Dark Pulse. So Dawnwings still able to force a shield from the opponent and actually win switch as they decline to use their second shield. And winning switch is quite nice because now you just get to put Marshadow on the Dialga. And as we've seen time and time again, these counters just obliterate this thing. Marshadow, does it decide to use a shield here? No. Iron Head is going to connect. Marshadow is going to be forced to fire off an Ice Punch as Dialga was nearing being able to get a farm down. Ice Punch is going to be no shielded. What does the opponent have in the back? It's a Lugia, and this could come down to a bait call. These Dragon Tails do add up over time. Going to bait with the Iron Head. Does the opponent call this? The Iron Head bait gets shielded, and that should mean that this game ends in a victory, as Iron Head not going to do a whole lot of damage, but building up to the potential Roar of Time, or in this case, Draco Meteor, forces the opponent's shield, and now you can connect with that Draco Meteor. Draco Meteor knocks Lugia from the skies and takes the win. Dialga versus... Why is every lead a Dialga? Dialga versus Dialga again. Oh my goodness. Apparently it was National Lead a Dialga Day. The opponent this time going to stay in with the Dialga as the Dawnwings is safe switched. Dawnwings commits the shield on the Iron Head. In comes Ho-Oh, and now we're going to see a bait. Moongeist would not one-shot, but it would do a ton of damage, and they're going to commit the shield. Dawnwings farming up, now going to go for the Moongeist right before they're able to make the Sacred Fire. Let's see this damage. Moongeist Beam, oh, we do not get to see the damage. Ho-Oh says absolutely not. Trying to go for a CMP tie. Unfortunately, the opponent just goes for the farm down. Landing the Dark Pulse, the opponent does leave with 100 energy, which means that they can go for a Sacred Fire, and then they're going to be able to, and only one Incinerate later, make it to the Brave Bird. So the Sacred Fire will land. They're going to switch out, send in the Dialga, and in comes Marshadow. Marshadow just keeps cooking these Dialgas. Oh my goodness. Marshadow is going to commit the shield on the Iron Head. It does end up being charge attack priority. Very unfortunate for the Marshadow. Marshadow, nice undercharge and a farm down because you need to try and make an Ice Punch versus the Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh going to be very close to making it to a move, but instead of the Ho-Oh being brought in, it's Landorus. Ice Punch is double super effective, but it will not KO. The Landorus barely able to hang on, and I think Ho-Oh is just too close to a charge attack, so I think this will be a loss. In comes Dialga, and the Ho-Oh, not to be denied, making the Brave Bird. Brave Bird KOs Dialga, and the opponent is able to take the win. Hopping into the final match, Dialga Origin versus Heatran, a terrible lead. Heatran is a Pokemon that is pretty much exclusively run to just be a wall to energy from Dialga Origin. The safe switch to Dawnwings. Opponent fires off the Magma Storm. In comes Kyurem, so it looks like the opponent is actually running an old team of mine. I actually used to run... You had Heatran lead, Kyurem safe switch, and then I typically ran Dragonite as the third, although once Dragonite unfortunately got a bit worse in the meta due to stuff like Palkia being released, Palkia was also a viable third Pokemon. The Moongeist gets shielded, able to land the Dark Pulse, and now you can just send in Dialga, tank Glaciates, and go for a big farm down. So Dialga is going to get the big farm down, and when the opponent sends in Heatran, they're going to have to deal with super effective counters from Marshadow. In comes Heatran, sending in the Marshadow in the back. It's going to be Palkia, and this could come down to a bait call. If you're able to successfully land the close combat, then that's going to do big damage to the Palkia. The Aqua Tail does get shielded, building up to the back-to-back close combats. Does the opponent shield the first here? Close combat number 1 does get shielded, going for close combat number 2, but this means Marshadow's defense is now at its lowest possible, -4. These Fire Spins are going to do so much damage. The Fire Spins able to farm down the Marshadow. Back in comes Dialga Origin, but Dialga is not in Magma Storm range. Shielding up the Magma Storm, opponent is going to be able to make it to another Magma Storm, but this will not be enough to KO. Dialga Origin flipping the script here, being able to KO a Pokemon that people run just to beat Dialga, and able to take the win. All in all, Marshadow does look like a fun pick for the Open Master League that has quite a bit of play. I would put it definitely more in the anti-meta role. I don't think Marshadow is a must-have Pokemon for the Master League by any means. It can be very fun. It can shred through Dialgas. It is a little bit lacking in coverage, so if you go up against something like a Ho-Oh with a Marshadow, you're just going to have a truly, truly atrocious day. But overall, I think it's a Pokemon that if people do really enjoy running Marshadow and they want to use in the Master League, you can carefully team build around it and you can probably have some success. However, I won't go as far as to say it's a must-have Pokemon by any means. It can put in some nice work, but there are definitely stronger options out there. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.